So hello everyone, today I'm going to make a video on SQL injection. So I found this web server to be vulnerable with SQL injection attack. So as you can see here, it's a local server, and let me show you. This is the server. So I'm hosting this server locally, and as you can see here, this is the IP address. Now the SQL injection is here. This is the vulnerable ID. This is the vulnerable parameter that I used to inject this website with SQL injection attack. So I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to perform my SQL injection attack on this website right now. So SQLMAP, the URL, and since we know this is the vulnerable parameter, I'm just going to give it an asterisk so that the SQLMAP knows where to inject the SQL payloads. Alright, so it's going through batch. I automated the stuff. Now it's trying various SQL payloads in order to check if this is exploitable or not. So as you can see here, in the heuristic basic test, it got to know that it might be injectable, and it has also known the DB, which is the MySQL server, and now it's going to try all the payloads which are related with MySQL servers. So we can see multiple payloads like error-based payloads and time-based payloads are also being used. Okay, so we have some report here. Now we can see that this is vulnerable to boolean blind based SQLi, and this is the payload that he used. Also vulnerable to error based this is the payload. Time based as well, this is the payload, and union query as well. So basically many SQL injection attacks are possible here. So okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to get the database names. So can we do that? Yes. So now we are able to retrieve the database name. So we have two databases here. One is Information Sigma and another is Photoblog. So Information Sigma is something which comes in default, so I'm not going to touch that, but let's go with the Photoblog and let's try to dump the tables. Okay, so in the database Photoblog we are able to dump the tables. So we have three tables here, and I'm interested in the users table. So let us try to go inside the users table and let's dump it. So now we are cracking the hash. Got to know one hash. So it took some time to crack the hash, and we have the cracked hash now. So this is what was found in the users table. We had admin as the login name, and password was this hash, which SQLMAP cracked using a word list. So this was a dictionary based attack. So as you can see here, this is the password, so I'm going to copy this, and let us try to log into the admin console now. Since we know the login was admin and password was this, now I'm going to hit login, and as you can see here, I tried the username admin and password and I am inside. Right, so this is the admin page, as you can see here. So this way I was able to get inside the admin panel. So if I log out and if I try something different, it won't work. See, I tried a random password and it didn't log in. So we were able to get the username and the password. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to implement a WFA and IPS in order to protect our website from SQL injection attack. So now we know that this website is injectable through SQLi, so now we are going to protect it. So first we need to add our web server. So let's go on add, name the web server. So I'm going to name it as database server, and it's listening on port 80. As you can see here, we don't have any other ports. And let me also copy the IP address, you might need it. Alright, so let us go to, let us select the host, click on IP host. Now the name, give the IP address here, remove the HTTPS, and it is database server. Now I'm going to save it. Okay, now I'm going to save this. So we have now added the database server in the web server here. So now we have to add a protection policy as well. So this protection policy is going to be the protection policy for the WAF. So let us say WAF policy. So I'm going to keep it on reject mode. So if anything happens like SQL injection attacks or cross-site scripting attack or scanner detection or data leakage, if it is able to detect these things, it's just going to reject it. So this I'm going to keep at level 4, which is going to be the most hard level. So in this level it's going to check for payloads, also for encoded payloads as well, so making sure that the hacker is not able to bypass it using some encoding SQLi payloads. So now when that's done, I'm going to hit save. So this was the policy for our WAF. So the next thing what we are going to do is we are also going to implement IPS. So we can go to IPS policy. I have already enabled the IPS. Now I need to add a IPS policy. So I will just click on add, and here let's say general IPS okay, so it's only allowing till here. Okay, let's just say IPS rules. So this is the name of the policy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this policy. So now this policy has been created. So now let us add some few things here. Go to add, and now here you can add the IPS policy rules. So since we know that our website is vulnerable to SQL injection, I'm going to add all the SQL policies whichever are possible. So you can see here we have many SQL policies, and not only SQL, we have many other policies as well. So you can see here browsers and many others, backdoor, FTP, Samba, etc, etc. Alright, so I'm going to save this. Sorry, a rule name I need to give. So I'm going to give SQLi, and let me save this. Alright, so I have saved this. So whenever it gets a SQLi attack, it's going to drop the packet according to our IPS policy. So we are going to save this. Now the rule is updated. So once again we can just verify. Just open this rule, and you can see it's present here. Okay. Now in order to have a WFA in Sophos Firewall, we need to have a proxy server. So what happens is that we need to create a DNAT rule first. So I'm going to create a DNAT rule, and now I have to select the host IP. So where am I going to, sorry, which is the server hosting the website? So this is the one, it's 1.15. I can select any, so this I'm going to select, it is 1.15, and you can see that this is the same IP address. So I'm going to go for next. So now this is the public IP address where I'm going to host it. So since this is a virtual box, I really don't have a public IP address. These all are the local area IP address, the LAN IP address. So I'm going to try to host on the port 3. So suppose if this was directly connected to a public IP address, then it would have been hosted over there. So I'm going to click on next, and now in services, since I know I'm using few services like TCP and HTTP, these are only the services that I'm using. Okay, now so what happens is that any traffic which is destined to this IP address is going to get translated to this IP address, which is the web server. So this IP address is going to work as a proxy server. So I'm going to save and finish. Now we have added the DNAT rule. Now let's move forward. So it's going to take some time. Alright, so the DNAT rule has been added. Now, like I told you, what happens is that this is going to act as a proxy server. Alright, so after creating the DNAT rule, what we are going to do is now we are going to create the WFA rule. So click on new rule, and now let's go to action and protect with web server protection. So after selecting here, now you should be able to configure the WAF. So this is where the DNAT part comes in, because it's going to ask you for the hosted address, and that is this address where it's being proxied, right? So now we are going to select this port, and now the listening port is 80. Now since I don't have the domain name, I can just give in the IP address, because this cannot be left blank, so you need to add something here. So the name, rule name, I'm going to keep as WF, and now here we need to select the web server. So this is the DB server, is the web server that we are configuring on, and now here you can give the access permissions. So for now I'm just going for any in IPv4 address, and you can also select authentication. So this we have basic pass-through and form, so which means like before even accessing the website, it will ask you for a username and password. So if you have that, then only you will be able to access the website. No, okay, so this is what this authentication does. And now apart from this, now these are the two main things that we need to focus on while creating this WFA. So now this is the protection part. So here we need to add the WFA policy. So this is going to protect us from SQL injection attack, because we have checked it, and I think cross-site scripting attacks and all also we have checked. Yes, a few more things were there. So this is going to work on the layer 7. And now this is another thing, this is intrusion prevention system. So this, if you remember, we have created an IPS rule. So this also I'm going to add. So in this also I have selected the SQL injection, um, SQL injection attacks, right? SQL injection policy, right? So this also I can select. Now we have double protection here. So this is the WFA protection, and this is the IPS protection. Okay, so this works on, I think, layer 3 and 4, I guess, the IPS. This is where it comes on HTTP. So anyways, now after doing so, I'm going to save this rule. Okay, so now if I try to access this port 3 this IP address, I should be able to go to this website. Okay, this is the admin, but let me go to normal. Yeah, so this website should be accessible when I try to access the 10.0.100. Yeah, and boom, so we are able to access this website now. So now we will be doing is that we will be trying the same attack that we did previously. Yes, the same attack on this website. So I'm going with this and go with batch. Now let us see. So it's checking if the target is protected by some kind of WFA or IPS, so which is certainly. So let us see what's going to happen. Can SQLMAP bypass this, or what is going to happen? Let's see. Because if you don't know, actually this SQLMAP is able to bypass some of the WFAs, and also they have some techniques over here. So that's why I wanted to see if it's able to bypass or not. So I think it should not be able to, because we have two layers of protection. One is the WAF and another is the IPS, so probably. So as you can see here, it was able to detect that it is protected by some kind of WFA. Okay, and then here, yeah, you can see this connection is timed out. So this WFA and IPS both are going to block the request which is coming from this SQLMAP, which is the technique that they use in order to protect us from this kind of attacks. So as you can see here, again the connection is timed out. So this is going to happen, and this is not going to get the SQLMAP further. So anyways guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope you like this video, and I hope you learned something new today.